Ha, my love, something strange has been happening in this house. Oh. Every time my breast milk that I expressed and put in the fridge always goes missing. I don't know how it happens and I don't know what to do either. Chinelo said, looking very worried. My love, are you sure? Abi, did you make a mistake? Maybe you thought that you kept some milk last night and then you forgot and probably fed the baby. It's possible now. You might be mixing things. Chinedu replied reassuringly. No, my love, I am sure of what I am saying. I kept 3 bottles of breast milk in the fridge and woke up this morning to realize that one bottle is empty. Something is not adding up and I need to get to the root of the matter as soon as possible. Chinelo replied fiercely. Calm down, Biko. Don't even start right now because I know you. When you set your mind to something now, you go about sticking your nose in things that does not concern you. Firstly, let us reason this out logically. There is no baby in this house. We are the only ones that have a baby. And you know that we are sporting with my brother, who was gracious enough to allow us live in his house and even treat us very well. They have never insulted or disrespected us. I insist that you probably forgot that you fed the baby in the night. But if you're saying that it is not the baby that drank the milk, and of course it is neither me nor you, then that means that you are indirectly saying that it is my brother or his wife that is drinking your breast milk. And that doesn't make any sense because they don't even have a baby. So how will an adult be drinking breast milk in the first place? Because this is completely ridiculous. So please, be very careful before you start pointing your accusatory fingers at my brother and his wife, who are our beneficiaries, before they get offended and throw us out in the streets. So going forward, I do not want to hear anything on this issue again. Did you hear me? Chinedu replied sternly. So Chinelo no longer spoke to her husband about her missing breast milk, but she was still very worried. Chinedu and Chinelo were a happy married couple, but were poor. Nothing Chinedu ever did ever prospered. He had sold leather in the market before, but his business had failed. He has done more than 3 businesses and they all failed woefully. It was always one story or the other. And each time his business closed up, he would go to his younger brother Izuchukwu to beg for money to start up again. And Izuchukwu would always give him the money he asked for. It was an unending cycle. Chinedu's businesses were always folding up and his younger brother was always giving him money to start afresh. Chinedu was always ashamed to go back to his brother to beg for money. But after a while, things became so bad. His rent had expired and he could not even renew his rent. So his landlord had thrown him and his wife out of their home. Chinedu had no choice at this point than to approach his brother Izuchukwu for help. He looked at his brother and said, Izu, I know you are my younger brother and ordinarily, I should be the one helping you and giving you money, not the other way round. But I am tired. I do not want to take money from you again to start another business that will still end up failing. I am now homeless and I do not even have anywhere to live. Please, Izuchukwu, help me in any way that you can. Chinedu said, crying profusely. And so, Izuchukwu employed his brother to work with him in his company and told him to come and live with him, that his house was big enough for him and his wife. And so that was how Chinedu and his wife Chinelo started living in Izuchukwu's house. Izuchukwu was still very respectful to his older brother, even though he worked for him and lived under his roof. And Izuchukwu's wife Ijeoma also accorded her senior wife Chinelo respect. In short, they were living like one big family. Chinelo and Ijeoma would cook together, clean the house together, and just spend quality time gisting and bonding, while their husbands would go to work together. And when they come back, they would watch football together. They were indeed a big, happy family. Chinelo even got pregnant in their house, and her sister-in-law Ijeoma was very supportive all through till they gave birth to their son. Ijeoma and Izuchukwu never for one day quarreled with Chinelo and Chinedu. Everything was literally going fine. But when Chinelo gave birth to her son, and when her son's milk started going missing, Chinelo began to get worried. She was sure that she was not hallucinating. And she knew for sure that it was neither her or her husband that was stealing the milk. There were only 5 persons in that house, so if it was not herself, her husband, or her baby, then it had to be Izuchukwu or Ijeoma. But she knew that she had to tread carefully, because if she went ahead throwing accusations anyhow, that meant that they could end up homeless and her husband could end up without a job. So Chinelo put on her FBI cap and decided to start paying attention, and also decided to get evidence, because she knew that it was the only way that her husband was going to believe her or take her serious. So each time she expressed milk for her baby and went at night to keep the expressed milk in the fridge, she would take a picture just so that she was sure of the number of bottles that she had kept in the fridge at night. She did this for 1 full week and her suspicion was confirmed. 1 bottle of milk was always empty every single morning when she went to check. Chinelo did not tell her husband about it. Instead, she decided to set up a secret camera at night to find out who it was that was stealing her baby's milk. So one night, she set up a camera and hid it in the kitchen cupboard that was opposite the fridge in the kitchen, and then went to sleep with her husband in their room. The following morning, she quickly went to check the fridge, and as usual, 1 bottle of baby milk was missing. Then she went ahead to check on her secret camera, and lo and behold, she got the shock of her life. She saw her brother-in-law Izuchukwu gulping down her baby's milk with satisfaction, her breast milk with satisfaction. Chinelo was so shocked. She didn't know what she expected to find when she hid the camera. But this was alarming. How can a grown man, an adult in his late 30s, be drinking breast milk? My breast milk! My God! Chinelo said aloud to herself as she rushed to their room to show her husband the video. When Chinedu saw it, he screamed in fear and said, "What? Why would my brother be drinking my wife's breast milk? It doesn't make any sense." Chinedu screamed, looking very confused. Then he looked at his wife and said, "Biko, my love, Chioma, I know you're upset, but please do not do anything irrational. Please do not even approach them. You know very well that we are living in my brother's house. And more so, I work for my brother. So if we make any fuss about this, we will find ourselves on the streets. And you know that we now have the child to worry about. It is not just about us anymore. Biko, Chioma, promise me that you will not confront my brother. Biko, no." Chinedu said, pleading with his wife, "I don't believe you. How can you say that I should not confront your brother? Is it normal for a grown man to be stealing breast milk and be drinking? I feel so violated. If he really wants to take baby milk, why can't he buy formula and drink? What if he's using my breast milk to do something fetish? I'm not comfortable with it at all." Chinelo replied, looking very upset. Ibiakwa, Ibiakwa, what is your problem, Chinelo? My brother has literally given us a roof, feeds us, and still gave me a job. What is so bad if he drinks your breast milk? After all, we should even be grateful that he wants something from us and that we can give him that something that he needs. I do not want to hear anything on this issue again. In short, from now on, make sure you pump enough breast milk and keep in the fridge so that my brother would have enough to drink," Chinedu said as he stormed out angrily. Chinelo was very upset that her husband did not take all what she was saying seriously. So Chinelo spent hours thinking of what to do and how she could get to the root of the matter. So she decided to pray about it, and after a few weeks of intense praying, she had a dream. In her dream, an old woman walked up to her and said, "My daughter, your husband's brother is using your husband's destiny. That is why all his businesses keeps on failing. And that is why each time he goes back to ask for money, he's more than willing and happy to still give him more money. And he has made sure to reduce your husband to being poor and dependent on him so that he can move into his home. And then he can now have access to your breast milk so that he can go after your son's destiny." The old woman said sternly. Chinelo was very scared. "Ah, Mama, what do I do? Please, my husband will not believe me. Please tell me what to do." Chinelo said, looking very afraid. And then she woke up suddenly, sweating and looking very scared. She was so frightened. So she knew that she had to act fast. There was no way on earth she was going to allow her brother-in-law use her son's destiny. So every night, instead of putting her breast milk in the fridge, she would make formula instead and put in the fridge. The first night she did that, she noticed that the following morning, all her bottles of baby milk was complete and that it was not even touched. Nothing was empty or missing. Chinelo wondered how her brother-in-law Izuchukwu could tell the difference between the breast milk and formula. But she decided to substitute her breast milk for formula for the next 1 week, every single night. And she noticed that throughout that whole week, not a single bottle of her milk was missing. Chinelo was shocked, but was also happy at the same time, because it meant that she had found a solution to her problem. Since her husband refused to confront his brother, she decided to take laws into her hands. She did not tell her husband about her little secrets, that she had been putting formula in the fridge instead of breast milk. So she continued like that. However, barely 2 weeks after Chinelo started substituting her breast milk for formula, she noticed a rapid change in her brother-in-law's attitude towards her husband. She also noticed that his wife, Ijeoma, had also become very hostile to her. They were no longer nice to them. As a matter of fact, her brother-in-law, Izuchukwu, started shouting at her husband at the slightest provocation, and even started threatening him that he would fire him and kick him out of his house. Her brother-in-law's wife, Ijeoma, was not left out. Ijeoma, who had never spoken to Chinelo harshly, suddenly changed and became very hostile to her. Her husband called her one day and said, "My love, have you noticed the change of attitude in my brother towards me and even in his wife towards you? I wonder what could be the cause. It looks as though we suddenly lost favor in their sight." Chinedu replied, looking very worried. "Shebi, I told you that what your brother was doing, I mean drinking my breast milk, was fetish and not normal. But you did not believe me. Now you can see that I was right." Chinelo replied, gloating. "Oh, I don't understand you, this woman. I'm talking about something serious. You're talking about breast milk. What does my brother drinking your breast milk have anything to do with them becoming hostile towards us?" Chinedu snapped back, looking frustrated. "My dear, it has everything to do with it." And then Chinelo went ahead to narrate her dream to her husband and how she substituted her breast milk with formula and how the milk in the fridge suddenly stopped getting missing. And now the sudden change in the attitude of their host. Chinedu was shocked. He was beginning to believe all that his wife had said. Hmm? So you are saying that the old woman said that my brother used my destiny? Is that the reason why he always gives me money anytime my business failed? I will not even be upset. He will not even utter a word or even complain. Wow. Now it all makes sense, because no matter my best efforts, each time I do business with the money he gives me, it always fails. Oh, so using my destiny was not even enough. Now he has the guts to come after my son's destiny. Okay, this is what we will do, no problem. Resume putting breast milk in the fridge again, and let us see if there is a change in their attitude. If that happens, then I will know beyond all reasonable doubt that what you are saying is true. Chinedu replied sternly. And so that night, Chinelo did as her husband had instructed and put her breast milk in the fridge at night. And the following day, one bottle was empty. She did it for 3 days, and all those days, one bottle of milk was always missing. It was always empty. And suddenly, Izuchukwu and Ijeoma changed towards Chinedu and Chinelo. They were once again very nice to them. And this confirmed Chinedu and Chinelo's suspicion. Chinedu was very upset. He stared at his wife angrily and said, "Oh, so my brother, my younger brother, someone I sucked breast and remained for, could do this to me and use my destiny so I will always be at his mercy. And now he has the guts to come for my son. I will teach him a lesson. I will deal with him. I will show him that there is a difference between Egbe and Egbe." Chinedu said, frowning. So the following day, Chinedu traveled to the village. He went to visit their priest at the shrine. And that was when they told him that his brother used him to do ritual money and that he could reverse it, but it meant that his brother would die. Chinedu did not know what to do. He loved his brother and did not want him to die. But then he told himself that if his brother could do this to him and now was also extending it to his son, then he should be able to bear the consequences of his actions, even though it was death. So Chinedu paid for the sacrifices, and the sacrifices were offered on his behalf to reverse all that his brother had done to him and to his son. So a few days later, Chinedu went back home to Izuchukwu's house. He was shocked to find his brother bedridden and very sick and at the point of death. He simply stared at him and said, "Izuchukwu, you are very wicked. Why will you do this to me? And not just me, now you're extending it to my son. For crying out loud, I am your only brother. No, scratch that. I am your only sibling." Chinedu said angrily. And then Izuchukwu replied with tears in his eyes and said, "I am so sorry, Chinedu. It was never my intention to use your destiny. Things were so hard for myself and my wife, so we agreed to do money ritual. When I went for the money ritual, they told me that I had to use my manhood, which I did, and that is why we don't have a child till now. But after a while, the gods demanded for more. They wanted your destiny. And I had tasted so much money that I did not want to go back to being broke. So I had no choice than to do it. But after a while, the gods wanted more. They asked for your son too. I am so sorry. I was already too neck deep to go back. But I didn't start off with using your destiny. I was deceived as well. I was told just my manhood, but they kept on asking for more and more. I am so sorry, Chinedu. Bikono, forgive me," Izuchukwu said, crying. He also turned to Chinelo, his brother's wife, and asked for forgiveness, and they both forgave him. But barely 2 days later, Izuchukwu died. Chinedu did not mourn his brother, even though he was sad. Rather, he pursued Ijeoma from her husband's home. He looked at her and said, "Get out from my house. Your husband used my destiny and that of my son to do ritual money. So all these properties and money and companies, everything is mine, since they came from my destiny." Chinedu barked angrily at Ijeoma as he kicked her out of her husband's house. Ijeoma was so sad. She cried and wept, but there was nothing she could do. So Chinedu went ahead and claimed ownership of all his brother's houses, lands, companies, and properties. After all, it was his destiny that his brother used to accumulate all that wealth. But instead of keeping them, he sold all of it and recouped a huge sum of 1 billion naira. And with that money, he relocated his family to the US to start his life afresh. He was hopeful that his brother Izuchukwu had not used all of his destiny and that the remaining part of his destiny which was not used in Nigeria, would be fruitful abroad. And truly, Chinedu began to prosper abroad, and he lived happily ever after with his wife Chinelo and their son. Chinelo was so excited. Whereas Ijeoma lived in misery. She was a widow and had no money to her name because Chinedu had collected it all. So she had to go back to the village to live with her parents. She spent the rest of her days sad and miserable. Hi besties, it's your favorite storyteller, Omalicha again. Thank you so much for watching my story to the end. So I'd like to hear your thoughts on this one. What do you think? First off, do you think that Chinedu was too harsh to collect everything from Ijeoma and send her out, claiming that the money was gotten from his destiny? Also, what would you have done if you were Chinelo? Would you have behaved the way she did? Like seeing a grown man drinking your breast milk, what would you have done if your husband did not do anything about it? Please share your thoughts with me in the comment section, and please support your home girl, Omalicha, by subscribing to my channel, liking my videos, and sharing with your loved ones. So now, till I come your way again with more interesting stories, bye!